That's
Totally.
why. Everybody's trying to sit up front.
You're silly, no? What, do we have a number that's like a generalization of how much we don't get paid in assessments, percentage wise? I just wonder if we could figure that, not.
I can try and figure that out.
I wonder if there's a way to figure out, like, for sure, off of the cash basis. But I'm also wondering whether Jen can exclude late payments, fees, penalties, all that stuff, right? Just purely of this number, the 1.639, that's assessments, right? We expect that to be paid 100%, but without all the other fluff, the fines and all the other junk, how much actually gets paid?
Okay.
Is it 1.5? Is it 1.4? Is it a 10% reduction? You know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder if Jen knows that.
8 o'clock.
We're going to call the special meeting to order. If we could please all stand. A moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to these, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Good afternoon. Thank y'all for coming. Can you hear me? Okay. All right, we've got two things to discuss and potentially adopt, and that's the budget and whether there'll be a raise assessment. So I suggest we go over the budget first, explain where we're at, and then not vote on it, but then move to the CPI.
Okay.
Right.
So I know there's been multiple revisions. So just a little history. This is my first time working with this budget. So there's a lot to go over. And so, going over things, I detailed it out so I could understand it, so we could use this going forward, so it'll be an easier process next year. So I know line by line what we are spending, what we're bringing in. So that helps me make goals for the team on what we need to do. So all in the green up on the top is our income. You can see that we have collections up there at the top and delinquency. We have our FRM memberships, which we have budgeted to increase hopefully per month. I have that on there. There was a lot of late fee discounts that they had given out in this last year in an effort to collect the delinquency that we have. So we've done our due diligence. We've sent letters and 209 letters. We've called. We've sent emails. We've done everything we can, and we're going to continue to do that. But I dropped the discount and late fees to a minimal because I feel that everybody's had enough time to pay what they owe, and I'm not giving them any more big discounts like we were giving them. We did a kind of like a drive to bring in as much as we could. And with that said, we've slowed down. We're still collecting, but I'm not giving out those discounts anymore unless they pay the full amount. If they pay the full amount, I may reduce the late fees. So that's where we're at on that, unless you have any questions on that. Okay. We have 1,632 members, and this is where that amount comes from across the board. We also have the non-performing lots in there as well. And then we have residential costs, which we have 808 in meters that we receive money out. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? You do. Go ahead, raise your hand.
Do the questions at the end when you're done. The question might be better at the end when you're done. Please.
All right, Matt. All right, and then our venue rental incomes. This is what, based on prior years' rentals, this is what we have budgeted that we are gonna do for, to bring in extra income down the line. Those numbers just speak for themselves, so I'll let you just look at that. If you have any questions, we can ask at the end. And then the events, these are the events that we've planned for this coming year. These are what we expect to make from those events. Now, this is just, and remember, this is a budget. So this is an estimation of what was brought in last year. The breakout on the income was not broken out. So I broke it out based on what I've done since I've been here and what I feel the team can do. And this could potentially be more as being conservative when I put in what we can bring in. I'm hoping it would be a lot more. I would love it to be a lot more. And then we go to our next one. Here's our golf course income. This was based on actuals from last year with a 3% increase on every line item. Because of course, when you're budgeting, you want to make sure that you can increase what you are. We raised the golf cart rental. It used to be $360 a year, now it's going to be $460 a year. We've also increased our alcohol there by if the beers were $3, so now $3.50, and then $4 to bring in more income. And then we also increased our merchandise selling by 3%, and then we added more food options as well. So they've got pretzels, they've got the chips with the cheese, chili cheese dogs. So we've added more food for our members to be able to enjoy. Hopefully that will bring in some more income as well. And then I have obviously for our Los Morris is supposed to be a separate than this. But because I wanted you all to see it all on one, I put it all together so you could see both the Dickman part of the golf course and all of FCS. I will be working on a separate Los Morris, which I can hand out later for you to see that as well. All right. And then we've got hunting. This is based on what we have spent last year again. I've also increased that as well. And we are doing really well with the youth hunt this year so far. So I expect that to work really good. We've already got people that have booked all the way into December ready for our hunt. So that's an exciting thing. Motel, I hope, and this is going to be based on a lot on the springs. We did lose income because a lot of people canceled last year because the spring was dry. Hopefully we'll have rain and that will bring more income. It is going to be based a lot on that, but if not, we do have alternative things that we will also market to bring in that extra income. So, but it's amazing how much the springs bring in money for us. Our real estate, this is based on, again, last year. We also have the permits in there. We have transfer fees. We plan on selling. We have budgeted to sell $16,000 in lots. I would like to do a lot more, but again, I don't want to overwhelm the team. So I want to give them a good goal. And every time we reach that goal, then we will raise it more. Again, this is just an estimate for them to have a guideline by, but if they reach that goal, we're going to make a competition so we can bring in more by selling. And then our RV park, that's always a really good seller. We've had so many people that are working in Del Rio and the surrounding area. It does bring in some good money. I've even looked at what the utility costs were based on what we actually bring in, and we're actually bringing in over 50% more than what the utilities cost. So I'll give you an example. We spent $7,500 in utilities last month, but we also brought in $29,000 in revenue. So it did offset it. So we are not losing any money on the RV park whatsoever. And then the clubs. So we've got our gun club, which is Border Patrol. We have the airport hangar. We have the 4-H club. We have the other gun club. We have the stables. Some of these clubs, not all that's listed here because we also have art club as well. Some of those are going to have a small increase in the rental. One of them being the stables, because it's based on the electric, the water, and everything we use. we're not breaking even like we should, so we're going to raise that amount per stable. Landfill, this is just based on what Bracket brings us in brush. They pay us $250 every month for them to bring in their brush for us to burn. And then this is goods sold for the fort, for food, supplies, materials, merchant fees, which is credit card fees, because there are credit card fees that we have to pay every time somebody uses a credit card, which is 3%. So all of this gets subtracted from your total income, which then gives you your gross profit. Does that make sense? And then our expenses. We plan on doing some really heavy marketing this year. I do believe that we have lost business because we don't market well. And so we have $24,000 that we have budgeted to do some marketing throughout magazines, on Facebook, maybe TikTok, YouTube. There's other avenues that we're going to use for that. And so I will have a person that is dedicated to that. So that way we can bring in visitors, tourists, maybe some more members, which we could use, which would be fantastic. But we're really going to utilize that marketing. And then, of course, we just have our dues and subscriptions for what we currently have. And then we have our event expenses in here as well. And then, obviously, we have bank charges. We're using our banks we do have bank fees that we have to pay, NSF checks that we have to pay, which the NSFs are charged back to the residents or members. And then, of course, we do have some interest that we pay as well. We've got legal and professional fees. That is something that I'm working really hard on reducing because a lot of our legal fees are based on delinquency. And we have used our legal professionals to help us either foreclose, send out 209 letters, help us collect. I would like to reduce that, and I have a plan on reducing that. That's why I'm going to be very strict on when all money is due to the fort, which will be the 5th of every single month. I'm sure some of you get dispatched. I've already saw that. In order for me to know exactly where our delinquency is, I have to have a strict policy. And that policy will be by the 5th of each month, all dues, memberships, money, whatever is going to be due, whether it's ACH, check, credit card. And then on the 6th, if you haven't paid, that's when you'll get a late fee. On the 7th, you will get a 30-day notice that you're late. So that way we can keep our delinquency under control. It has not been done like that, I don't think, ever. But that's what I'm used to, strict policy. When I worked at my other company, I had a 0.01% delinquency. And I plan on getting ours done. So I'm going to go and I hope I can get. But I think it's going to work. Now, with that said, our next one is our office expenses. It's all written out here. Everything you can see. If you have any questions on that, I don't think I need to go through it line by line, but it says everything we're doing, what we're paying. There are different programs, though, I will be looking at during the year to streamline motel reservations and RV reservations because I think we can save money there. We're also going to look at doing something different in the motel because we pay a lot of money in DirecTV. I think if we get smart TVs and they do streaming, that will save us a lot of money there. So there's a lot of areas that I'm looking at, but I want to remind everybody, I've only been here 5 months. So I still have a lot of deep diving to do, but I am going to be really heavily working on that throughout the year. Repairs and maintenance, I base this on what we have spent. And maintenance obviously is always your biggest expense because we've got landscaping, we've got repairs, we've got trash pickup. There's just a multitude of things that we have to do, including the pool, the chemicals, fertilizers, just to name a few. Our gas is also included in that as well. And then we've got the golf course, the expenses for golf course. We added that on there. Greens maintenance, chemicals, fertilizers, sand, slime. And I know some of this got cut off. I apologize for that. The margins may have been out of whack, but I think you can read them. If you don't know what they are, just ask me. And then we've got security, the hunting expense, we plan on putting money back into whatever we rent. We plan on putting money back in there. So, example, NCO Club. That was our biggest venue renter. We rented that 26 times during the year. We made about $10,000 on that, I believe. I'd have to look at the numbers, but somewhere in that area. So with that said, I would like to take a portion of that to put it back in there to fix up the kitchen. Kitchen could use a lot of work. It could use a new floor. It could use new cabinets. And if we fix it up, then maybe we could rent it out for more money. If we put back in what we're getting from that. We also have the motel expenses on here. The big one is our payroll. So I have given everybody an increase in their wages this year. So that's why you're going to see an increase. And it's deserved. It's well deserved. They work hard. And if you have questions about that on the side, that's why you're going to see an increase in payroll. So every person on my staff will be getting a raise January 1st. And then we go to our taxes. We've got our taxes on here. We paid $135,000 last year. I suspect it to be a little bit higher this year. So we have a placeholder for $140,000. And then obviously we've got our sales tax, our course tax. So the taxes are taxes, so we have to pay it. And then our utilities are on here. So with all that said, with our income and the expenses that I've budgeted out, we plan on having a favorable variance of $39,000. Now, on those assessments on the top, the restricted has been taken out. So that is not included in here because that goes into the restricted. So, have any questions? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just refer to one thing now. Golf course. You show an income of 207,000, but expenses are only 21,000. You had one heck of a year.
We sure did.
That's the true expense.
Well, a lot of the expenses that went up on the golf course didn't come out of operating. It came out of the restricted because of the amount. So our pump
So that's lost money.
And payroll.
and payroll.
Yeah.
Shouldn't those be in there?
There are different accounts. Your restricted is not the same as your operating. They're two separate accounts. Does that make
Ever get
sense?
to see what the cost of the golf course to operate?
I can definitely tell you what I can send it out to everybody what we actually used out the restricted fund for the golf course.
Yeah, didn't make any money.
I'm gonna say yes. It made some, a very little amount. I would say maybe about $3,000 or $4,000.
Be the first time.
You know, it's a golf course. Unfortunately,
But we ought to see what it costs to operate.
but no, you're absolutely right. Part of the problem with something like this is unless we're going to do what we did at the board
Each
meeting
department
and
separate.
take 15 pieces of paper together, it's very hard to disseminate. But we had talked about, every month she'll run a report on a different department, classified out just for that department, and have it available at the board meeting. So one month you'll see the golf course where it is year to date. That type of thing.
You don't have to do it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's not true.
every month something
But-
different.
But let me explain something. When you have an operating budget, it's all encompassing. You don't do each one separate. All the money, all the expenses all come out. It doesn't matter. If it loses money, then if we make money on something else, it's operating. It includes everything. Now, if you were to do a budget for each separate one, you can. But a true budget is not like that. Any company you work at, everything is included. So if you lost money in something and you gain money in something, that offsets
I
it.
knew what every department made in loans.
Well, I'm not saying that I don't know,
That's here too.
but when I make a budget, I make a full budget.
We didn't make.
I didn't separate them each one. That isn't normally how an operating budget works. But it can be if you want to see just that. I can do that.
I think I'm not.
And why are you asking about specifically the golf course?
I just picked that out.
A lot of people pick that out.
You don't pick any of them out. The RV part, you don't have the true expenses there.
Yes, I do. They're on there.
The only thing that's not broken out would be,
It would be the restricted funds that we use for some of the operations that we've done.
and the payroll, right? Or
Payroll's
do you,
on here.
do you have payroll broken out
Yes.
for the? Okay.
Oh, payroll is broken. So when using QuickBooks, it's kind of a long story, but in using actuals, they took some of the items and they consolidated it when they went from the old system to the new. So some of it wasn't broken out individually. The ones that I broke out in payroll is because I know what they are. This year, as I work through the budget for the next year, each one of those line items, that's why I have them on here. They might not have anything there, but that's why I have them on there. Next year, each one will be individualized. Up here on the payroll, yeah. But again, I'll be honest, 5 months being here, I did not have the time to individualize each one. But next year will be a different story. So this is consolidated so you can get a whole picture. So at the end of the day, all of this bottom number would be the same whether they're individualized or not.
It should be. Yeah.
Yes, it would.
And it's not to say you are tracking every
Yes.
department, RV
Yes.
park.
Yes.
And you take the expenses away from the income for each department, that should be the profit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not-
At the end of the day, the full profit that's on here is what the fort will make. Each department doesn't get that profit, just the full. Yes,
Well-
but I can understand how everybody would want to see RV, did it make money? Golf course, did it make money? Motel, did it make money? Okay, totally understand that. But even if you saw those individually broke out, which I will do next year, that's my promise to you as a manager, I will break them out.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
at the
more
end-
for your benefit.
Well, I have them broke out here, so I can see month by month by month what's coming in and going out. Does that make sense?
To you, yeah.
Yeah, but I can break it out. I can do that.
Yes, I would vote for that.
Okay.
Because otherwise, how can we vote on whether something should continue or not? If it's completely losing money, it doesn't make sense to continue.
Well, at the end of the day, if you voted out the golf course, that's $1 million thing that they spent money on. And if you just voted it and it's gone, you can never bring that back.
Yes, I understand that's money spent, but money in the future. Now's not the time when you
Mhm.
see your
Right.
reports.
Yeah.
Just-
So we are in the black. So you can see that. We are not in the loss. We are not in the red.
We're in red with $58,000 worth of income that is to be determined in Never Never.
Well, it's not Never Land, Travis. It is a goal for us to reach.
That's
And
a
it's
goal.
what every operating budget has. If you have people that have delinquency, you have to put that in there.
I agree. How much, okay, so we have 100, from the last meeting, we said we had 340,000, call $300,000 in delinquency, 199,000.
Mhm. Yeah.
Of the 300,000, how much of that is more than 4 years old?
I could give you a percentage later,
Because if it's over 4 years old, it's not collectible.
okay?
A lot of that in the part that is not with the attorneys is less than 4 years old. I would say at least 70%.
So do you agree that we're gonna collect $14,000 in October and in back assessment? I agree it's a goal. I like the goal. Let me say that. But to say that we're positive by having a goal, that's not operative.
Let's look at this from a different point of view, because I get the sense that I can guarantee I look at the budget different than everybody here. And it's because I'm in control of every single dollar that my company spends. And I'm going to give some grace to Charlena and say, look, if this budget is 80% correct this year, we're doing pretty good. Because the only way that a budget actually gets blown is if there's waste. If there's no waste, if you definitively know that there is no waste, in theory, right? We'll say everybody's perfect. That if there is no waste, then a budget wouldn't even be necessary because you wouldn't be wasting any money. Therefore, your profit would be as high as it could possibly be. So I'm going to run through some numbers because I think that I look at this maybe a little different than most. Our payroll expenses are $743,743. That's 52% of the total budget. Okay. Our total assessments is 1.639. That means that there's roughly $280,000 excluded, just that your assessments pay for. There's $280,000 chunk of change left over after just paying payroll. Okay, think about that for a second. That's just paying payroll. So we got $280,000 that's excess of the assessments. We make about $1 million in our extracurricular activities, we'll call it. Our insurance is $249,000. Our taxes is $140,000. Our total tax amount's $206,000. Legal, roughly $100,000. It was $140,000 last year. Our admin is $126,000. Our repairs and maintenance are $95,000. Those are uncontrollable costs for the most part. They're uncontrollable costs. That totals about $775,000. We combine those two numbers. We have $2,149,743. That means that in discretionary spending, expenses for Dickman Hall, expenses for the golf course, expenses for the RPV park, and expenses for the motel, repairs and maintenance on surprise events like the hotel pillar going out or needing to repave something, in theory, the most that number could be if we focus just on one aspect of the budget is $450,000. Nobody's wasting any money. I used to think when I sat out there like, oh man, there's got to be 500 grand in this budget that's just going to waste. It does not exist. There might be. Now that I've looked at this budget with Charlena and then studying the budget with Mr. Peterson, or Mr. Peterson's budget, we might waste $30,000 a year. I would think that was extremely high number. So I think everybody's got to wrap their mind around that and kind of step away from the ledge of I'm trying to find a problem, an expense problem, that we somehow have this bad administrative side or bad board side, and that somehow we are wasting money. We don't have enough money. That's all this boils down to. We do not have enough money. We have $2.6 million roughly. And I don't remember, Travis, you might know the exact numbers on the hotel. I think right now we're sitting at, I think the motel income used to hover around 350 for a couple of years.
So just I can break it down for you another way. The number that you have on your sheet right there, 233,000.
Yeah.
If you take the highest rate that Berlin is now charging, I believe $87, that is accounting for a 20% occupancy rate throughout the year. I think that is a great number to budget because your true occupancy historically is somewhere between 30 and 35%. With the drought, you really have to hold off. And so by doing it at the number that's at, I'm very confident in that number because it's an occupancy rate that is below what is historically there, which is 30 to 35%. This occupancy rate is 20%.
Okay.
And I sat with Charlene and did that math. So
right, and the numbers for the hotel and the RV park are low compared to what we have made in previous years when DPS and solar farms and stuff were going. But I think my overall point is that I just think we got to be really careful to not. I can promise you, nobody's wasting any money. I mean, there might be some waste. Somebody buys a Snickers bar or a battery they're not supposed to buy, but the idea that somehow the fort throws money away, I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Not now.
And John, I think that like more importantly, and the reason that I bring up the 58,000 is not to say that there's
well, yeah, because it's an expected. If we didn't make any of that money, we would be in the red.
Well, and that's the point that I made is that this is not true operating income. Great goal, want it to happen, you blow it out of the water. But that is not operating income. So, for example, let's just say that Charlena gets to her delinquency rate of almost zero. And so at 58,000 and there's 300,000 out there. So now we're at zero in 6 years. We have no back assessments. If that income doesn't come in, you're in the red in 6 years.
Yep.
Meaning that the operations do not pay for themselves. And I think we're getting at the same point from two different sides. This is not, we still have a long ways to go from a revenue perspective, and it can't be from pulling things from the past. And I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves when we don't highlight that in conversation. You want to have it like this in the budget? Go for it. But if we're not having the conversation that there's money here that is not truly operating, then we're not looking at the full picture, because it's going to make it very difficult in your next agenda item to say, we need to raise assessments, because right here it says we're making money. And that's what everyone out here sees. You're telling everyone we're making money.
Okay.
Yeah.
$39,000 is not a lot of money.
Yeah, I know that.
And
Yeah, we both sat there.
That's like
and
two flat
that
tires
this is
for the
a
association.
budget. This is a budget without. This is maintaining. This is not a budget that is going to fix everything up. This is not, we don't have the money to fix everything. We don't have enough in the restricted to fix everything. So if we want to continue with all that we have,
Yeah.
all our amenities, and with the stuff that's starting to break down, we can't not raise the assessments. I don't want to raise the assessments. I would love for them to stay the same. I'm on a fixed income, but we are lucky that we're still here.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to sound like a doomsday, but we maintain a lot of buildings, a lot of ground, a lot of, everything. And
The main thing would just like to see where the expenses are. You mentioned the RV park. The RV park expenses aren't even.
Yes, they are.
Sure.
I don't see it.
They're in the maintenance because it's maintenance. Our maintenance goes and does all the work on it.
I just want to say to Charlene, we don't mean to distrust you, but I've been coming here for 24 years and never have I heard of a surplus. 39,000 may not be much, but we've always covered your bankruptcy in my experience. So, thank you.
Well, I will. And one of the things too that I think Travis knows is we've got legal fees in there and accounting fees. Now, I had to put the amounts in there based on actuals, but that does not mean I'm spending that this year. I have a whole plan to cut that back. Now, again, an operating budget is an estimate. Now, I appreciate all your help, Travis, and I plan on still using your help. So with your help, I think we're going to do great on this. But I feel strongly that my people are going to collect delinquency. And now, if they don't collect it all, they don't collect it all. But I know there's other expenses that I know I'm going to cut. But I can't do that quite yet. So this is a goal and a guide. If we make it, fantastic. If we don't, well, then I got to figure something else out. But I'm not just going to walk away from it. If not, I'll reach out to Travis. If not, I'll reach out to Jason. If not, I'll reach out to the board. I plan on making it work. I know you have got all your emails because Travis has been giving me a lot of good pointers. I truly appreciate it. And he's got some stuff that I can work with. And I plan on using him for as long as I can, Travis. I know. So it is an estimate and it's a goal. And I plan on exceeding this goal. And if I don't, I'll be very disappointed in myself. But it's a goal that I'm going to work very hard at. So, yes, sir.
I'd like to inject a little humor.
Okay.
All we need to do to come up with all kinds of money is start writing traffic tickets.
Oh my God, I agree with you on that.
The county would take it.
yeah, the county would take it all.
I'd like to interject as a board member, my concern over the budget.
Mhm.
And it's a give and take situation. It's common knowledge that Dickman has been struggling for a long time. But then what is the option? The negative option. We shut it down, and then we don't have something nice for the members to enjoy. It might come to that. I don't know. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it doesn't make money like it's supposed to make money. Can we change some things? Potentially, I don't know, contract it out to somebody. I'm just throwing an idea out there. But we close it down, we save money. But now we have one less thing for the members to enjoy. We have unusual expenses come up that have to be taken care of right away. Mud has not been helpful to us in regards to helping us with our irrigation system. We took a $10,000 hit recently. The golf course needs to be watered. It has to be watered. And a lack of cooperation does not help. So those are things we're addressing, that we're going to continue to address, but we need to be reasonable and flexible with our budget. I wish it was perfect. I've already talked to Ms. Cavender. I've expressed to her my concerns, some of my concerns. I feel confident the fact that we hired her to monitor this. If she's not going to monitor it, then maybe or not do what we ask her to do, then things will be different. I don't know. But this is where we are today. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that, I'm not on the board, obviously, but as a member, asking these questions is not a criticism. Because
No.
otherwise I can't understand what's going on and interject and believe in all your efforts and follow. So please don't take it as a criticism because I don't think that was.
Oh, no, I
don't
don't.
Take that way.
No.
Right.
Your point on wanting to see the expenses and seeing like Lost Morris Corp lost $22,000 is a great representation of you being able to make a logical decision as to whether it needs to survive or not. And that's a great point. And
Well,
just like Memo described, right? I mean, if we had a breakdown for all of that, I mean, really, there's only
Digman is broken down on that. It's
Not the golf course, it is on.
no, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I have it, but
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm talking about there's only a couple entities. It would be because we know the RV park makes money, but
This is not what actually gets lost to community. There are issues with this, not the budget itself,
in the
but the way
communication between how it works
and
between
how it's being
the golf course,
posted
yeah.
and stuff like that. So
So it's not
And I'm
actual, but
with
it
you on
does
that.
lose money.
Hmm?
But it does lose money.
You mentioned Dixon, because if you look at that, you look at the NSF fees, you have to say, why are they accepting checks? Those are the types of things that pop up and you say, why are there so many NSF?
I can answer that for you. We have members that don't use internet, they don't use ACH, they refuse to use a credit card, and they will only use checks.
You know who doesn't?
well, and some of those
here.
NSFs, the NSF just means non-sufficient funds. Some of those are coming from credit cards that decline on assessments, ACHs that decline. So but those we charge back to the member
Yes.
when that happens. So it ends up being a wash.
Some banks don't charge NSF. Fidelity
I don't know any bank that
Fidelity
doesn't.
absolutely does not charge.
Well,
fees
then
on
maybe
bounce
we should
checks.
tell the members to go to Fidelity.
When you're cashing their checks, right? So they get their bank from their charge, but if our bank doesn't charge us, then we don't care if they got charged. So it doesn't matter
Well,
what their bank is.
That's a
what we're
discussion
banking.
for another day.
It's
So-
unfortunate. It's unfortunate for whatever reason that we have members that are on a regular basis provide incomplete or incorrect information or false information, specifically credit cards or debit cards. So then here we are, insufficient accounting. People are being charged late fees, the whole bit, because some of our members, I guess they make mistakes. Now, a mistake is a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months. It goes 5, 4, 5, 6 months. Then they're not responding to our letters to pay up. It's a continual little battle.
I think it's important to note too that the budget is based off everybody paying their assessments. If
Yes.
they don't pay their assessments, which I just asked Sharlene, I don't think we've really been able to do this in the past, but I think we can do it now. We're going to ask Triumvir if Jen can break it down for us. If we could get like a running number of what percentage per year. I know they're not gonna be able to answer it in that manner, but if we could have like an average
Mhm.
that we know in general doesn't get paid, then it might help us to also plan, have actuals for the future. Because I don't think we don't have access to that right now.
Prior to 2020, your number was around 12 to 13%. During 2020 to 2022, when you had someone focused on that, you were fluctuating between 5 and 8%. And that was with someone calling, working with them continuously.
Mhm.
So those are your approximates.
And then,
Well, and
so,
we still have the attorney's stuff from 2020 and
Yeah,
2020.
I mean, I went back and looked,
Yeah.
our very first, Memo and I's very first meeting, we put 9 properties into the 209 process. March 2023, the Friday before March 2023 annual meeting, one of those properties finally was settled, and that was the process. Our very first meeting, we did 9 properties. The second meeting, we did 22. The meeting after that, we did another 21. We're still.
They're still out there.
Never land out there with them.
Yep.
But I would, and I'll talk to Charlene about this later on, but the attorney that was working with us during that time frame has gone to another firm and is in charge of building their HOA practice.
Actually, I don't think he's there anymore either.
At the second firm.
Yeah, I heard that he came back to that one.
Well, we need to find a hungry firm that wants to build an HOA.
Well, we are,
We
found,
we
we
did.
did.
Because
So,
that's where, I mean, they can get all the practice in the world working with us.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're right.
They'll be busy.
No, we're looking at moving.
Yeah,
We've
that's
already
right.
voted on
I
that,
heard
yeah.
In the last meeting that y'all
Yeah.
was gonna do.
Yeah.
So and I don't understand it, and I've spoken to board members about this. I don't understand where we were doing something different before, and maybe we weren't doing it right. That's why we didn't have the fees, but it seems like there's something that we were either getting charged for that we weren't doing in the past. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's something different. And so I don't remember these fees. I mean, Lisa and Memo can speak to this. I don't remember the fees being like this with those delinquencies before.
Well, they were sitting on a lot of them.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. There might be
Yeah.
something that is different.
Yeah.
I know there was a law as well.
There's what?
There was a change in the law that we had to do something different that was enacted. And so that maybe that added more to it. I thought it actually helped us, but from a notice perspective, but something has changed because that's just, but totally different conversation. But y'all are working on it, and that's all we can do.
Well, I can tell you this, I haven't personally worked on any of the collection stuff. How many hours do you think you spent in the last year working on collections?
I don't know that I could calculate that.
Like, it's not getting paid attention
Yeah.
to, but it,
Yeah.
boy, talk about a struggle.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Tony can attest to
I
the
think
struggle.
maybe the best way that all the members could help with that is encourage your neighbor to pay the bill.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you need to talk to your house rep and get it back to where we can post the delinquency.
Yeah, I would love to do
Board
that.
Mark used to send out all the members.
That was a long time
They
ago.
used to send it out in the bugle.
Yeah. Who was delinquent? Yeah.
Wow.
State law
Yeah.
change.
But before Facebook.
Yeah. So, and you know, at some point we may have to have a conversation if we can't find more creative ways or, you know, to boost our revenue and cut expenses anywhere else that we can we continue to maintain every single one of our buildings, every single one of our historical buildings? You know, it's a lot of property. I don't want to see us let anything go, but at some point,
What would be the process for doing that?
no idea. I'm just saying we'd have to have
It's
it.
almost impossible from my understanding, but like
Impossible to what? We can
sell
just,
property.
oh, I
Oh,
didn't,
not sell.
Not
I think
sell.
lease out property. I
either
mean,
lease out or there may be
Yeah.
something we just can no longer maintain, which I don't want to see.
No, that's fair.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm talking about selling.
yeah, no selling. Because if we are, I want the commissary.
Good luck.
Yes, sir.
Well, we could look for help from the state with historical aspects.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, the state.
If there's enough
invests
funds.
in a lot of
Are you, can you, after the meeting, can you point to those agencies that would help us to Ms. Cavender, if you know of them?
Not specifically.
Okay,
I could look them up.
thank you.
Another thing that I wanted to mention was any budget meeting like this needs to specifically, like every organization and citizen in our nation, has to deal with inflation.
Mhm.
And we have to mention that at every budget meeting. And every member has to understand that just membership here doesn't exclude you from inflation.
No, it does not.
Unfortunately.
And that's the next part of our conversation.
Well, I've been a retired public school teacher for 20 years now. And until this year, I didn't get any raises in my retirement. Finally got one this year.
And you're probably still below the. Well,
It's better.
it's better. And unfortunately, I've got the numbers back to 2014, and before 2014, I think the rate stayed flat for the longest time. And Travis has said it in the past too. We're playing catch up. You know, we went years and years and years with no increases, and then with attrition, the FRMs that slowly go down, everything changes.
They were running a special assessment almost every year.
And they were running a special assessment, and it's something we might have to do again. We don't want to. We'd rather have everything rolled into the budget, but if we want to do roads, we may have to.
We may have to do
We may
that,
have to
because
do
we
that.
Do not have the money for that at all.
I don't know, a special assessment is gonna cover the roads.
Well, you would have to do it section by section. You would have
We're
to
just
say,
gonna sell all your properties because you're
Yeah.
gonna donate them.
yeah.
Y'all can have them, you know?
Believe you me, we all think about it. We all look at what we have. We all look at how much money there is, and we're like, ha 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 ha. Ha. How do we fill all the potholes? How do we, get the adult center back up and the post theater back up, and just everything back to the way we'd like to see it. And we're doing everything to try to get to that point. But I hate to say it, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not gonna fix it overnight. But that sounds really trite.
That's true.
But true.
It is the truth. And I think Russell can speak for this. I think Russell knows that I care about the fort. I haven't been here as long as some of you. I know Becky knows me really well. I've known her for 35 years, but I'm here because I just fell in love with it. I live in Del Rio. I commute every day, and I'm more on time than most of my employees are gathered here. Same, but I would love to see every single building fixed and usable and beautiful, and I could just see this place being amazing. And I'm gonna work my darndest to do it. Now, can I do it? I'm not gonna say I can, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try very hard and reach out to all the resources I can, to the people that can help me, to the people that can bring it in, ideas that could help the fort. Because I would hate to see it die. That would be a tragedy. So.
Do we have any other questions about the budget? Yes, ma'am.
Is there money in the other committees? Because I recall at one of the meetings, community council, somebody asked for money for their group and they were granted. It wasn't a large amount, but there was. And so I wonder if each committee has separate money that isn't accounted for.
The only thing not accounted for is I don't know what the golf committee has at this point in their. I don't think it's a lot because they've
You're talking about
spent.
preservation.
Well, but it's one of the committees. I was just
Okay.
starting there.
Okay.
But they've spent a lot of that money recently to help offset some of the cost. The restricted fund, which is $5 of every membership assessment, $275 stays in the restricted fund, and that's for capital improvements, repairs, big repairs, equipment, that kind of thing. $25 goes to preservation, which is the historical preservation of the buildings. They have 45. That's a guesstimate, about 45,000. And then the restricted fund itself has. I don't remember the restricted fund.
I can go look it up. I was so busy on this.
Probably 200,000 or 300,000, 200,000 or 300,000 in
And they
those.
manage their own money.
preservation comes to us with what they want to fix and maintain, and then we approve and cut the check. So we have the funds. It's just separate from this. And the same with restricted, we also manage that. The golf course does their own, but that doesn't come from any of the assessments. They raise the money through tournaments and stuff. So they have that money in a separate account.
And I think the golf committee ranges anywhere from like 3 to 7,000. I think the most I've ever heard of them having was like 7,000.
They had more until we asked them to pay for about
Yeah.
$10,000 worth of something.
21K or so, and they spent 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and they're still spending. So yeah, they don't have a ton right now. So, and that should be all the monies that are out there. Now, I will say, to answer some, I got an email. We do have the bulk, not the bulk, but a majority of our money put into Fidelity. So we have our regular accounts, and then we keep a minimal amount to write our checks, that type of thing. But the rest is swept into Fidelity, which is running about what kind of percentage? Close to 5%, where we weren't getting any interest prior to this. We also so the interest will help, and that's not in the budget. And we also have
Our surety bond.
the surety bond we moved because we were losing what, a couple thousand a year.
We were getting 1% interest, and then we were paying, I believe it was $1,300 just to have that account every year.
Yep.
And now it's an Amistad Bank, and it's getting 4.4% interest on $170,000. So
Because before we have to keep that money separate for the landfill, couldn't use it, weren't making really any interest off of it. So
Right.
now we're trying to find every area that we can to pump that up.
make our money work for us.
And then there was a question about the ERC money. Now people keep calling it the PPP, the payroll protection plan, but that was something that was completely different that was done a few years ago. The ERC money is an employee retention credit, which they gave us credit on the taxes that we paid in employee taxes. So that is the money that we got recently that was 800. And then of course that cost us 113,000 that went to the company that got it for us. So that money we don't have it in total, but that money, most of that money is still under our umbrella. And I know some people have said, well, why don't we use that to fix this or fix that? Right now we have about $1 million in total of everything, but we should really not have any less than that because we need a safety net. It's not like we're just holding on to it, not wanting to spend it. But if we take 500,000 and just fix up the adult center, that puts us in a very precarious position if something happens. If the plumbing goes out in a hotel, or a major disaster happens. So we have to be careful. We want to fix and maintain, but we also can't just spend everything that to fix up everything.
No, and I'll throw this out there. Our insurance alone, just on the fort, is $250,000. We paid our first one, our general liability, and we saved $4,000 in interest by paying it in full. And we just got the property insurance, like for disasters and stuff like that, and it's $124,000. If we pay that $124,000 in full, we will save $6,700 because they're charging us 11.004% interest. And I don't feel we should pay that amount. We should save whatever we can. So that was something that I just said to the board today.
Well, go ahead. I have a question on the insurance number. What was it? 250?
About 250. It was like 88,000, and then this last one was 124,000, and then the car insurance is
Like
39,000. But we don't pay interest on that, so we just go ahead and pay that monthly.
Yeah, and in the past, the umbrella and our property insurance has been paid monthly, and we've lost, like she said, 11% on one, and I don't remember.
The other
what
one was 12%.
12%. So that ERC money, even though, allows us the cushion to actually pay it in total without affecting our cash flow, but it's also, we're not just throwing it at a bill, we're also saving the interest and still have the cash flow that we would have paid, if that makes sense. So I don't know how else to, I don't know what else would say we're saving.
It's still $100,000.
Yeah, we didn't change any of the deductibles or the minimums. Depending,
$25,000 deductible per,
it depends on what you're talking about with the deductible, whether it's injury or. Yeah, so.
That's why you sent out a notice on the dog. One of the security guards.
not that I know.
Oh, that was
It's before you got it.
Oh,
that's before she got here. That wasn't claimed on the
That
insurance.
was workman's comp.
Probably workman's comp, but our workman's comp is so, we've gotten a rebate every year for the last couple of years, so we're
Yeah, I
still.
was just gonna say, I was glad to see the notice on the house. I've got a picture of two people.
You reported to security?
well,
You gotta report it.
we really should call the sheriff on that because our
Security?
security cannot touch dogs. They are not trained to do that, and
It's more for
that's
the
a
record.
liability
It's
for
more
them
for
to
the
get-
record. It's more for the record that a call was made in,
Okay,
and they can call the sheriff's office.
okay.
Going back to insurance, this year, because we've had several years without making a claim, there was efforts made by the board, Ms. Cavender, to shop around. We weren't locating anybody who would lower the interest, what we're paying on insurance. So we're kind of like, this is where we're at. We got to stick with this company for now. Maybe next year we can shop around some more or attempt to shop and maybe get a better deal because we haven't gotten a break on it, even though we haven't had any, knock on wood, any major claims.
Well, and there's a couple issues. One reason is we are a purple unicorn with stripes. We have so many different areas of liability. We're not just a basic HOA that has a clubhouse, a swimming pool, and that's it. With everything we have, it costs us more. The other thing is, and John, you can probably speak to it, the insurance industry right now is really bad. I mean, if you've looked at your car insurance, mine's gone up and up and up, and I never had a claim.
It is really bad right now. The insurance companies are a lot of, like Germania, a lot of the really big companies aren't even taking new clients. And so I reached out to people that I knew to try to get new insurance for us and sent that our overall policy to people and was told like, yeah, no, it's
Just
too
not
much.
interested.
Huh?
They're just not interested.
Yeah, well, it's too complicated. The response was, this is a hot mess. You need to stay exactly where you're at. So
No, not because of
Not
too many
enough-
claims.
no.
not because of the claim, just because of the complexity of it, of all the insurance, and because if you go to an insurance agent, it's not just like they go, oh yeah, I'll write that up. I'm just going to use Farm Bureau for everything. They would literally have to take our insurance and shop with 30 different vendors for every single little aspect of the association. And it's a lot of work, and based off of looking at how it's all broke down, the advice was just stay where you're at for the market today and the way it is.
And shame on them for not wanting to build up their business.
John, with your insurance compacts, have you heard anything from a legislative level on, and this is one of the expenses that Lisa was talking about that could pop up out of nowhere. But have you heard anything on the requirement for a reserve study?
No, but for
No,
the
but
record, we
yes.
all think and agree that a reserve study is an absolutely awesome idea.
Well, that's
Unnecessary.
That's wonderful to hear. I hope that's part of the capital budget. But in Florida, this did happen.
Mm.
Florida, because they had the issues with the high rises and they were covering up stuff.
Yeah.
So first off, no one will touch, and that's where insurance from a portfolio's perspective doesn't even want to look at HOAs because of Florida. And so they now have to have a reserve study before you can even get insurance. So reserve study premiums have gone through the roof. Because now they know they have a captive market. And that could be something that could pop up where it says, hey, you got 3 months before insurance is due, and if you don't have a reserve study, we're not insuring you. So I'm glad to hear that y'all are getting in front of that. And
Yeah, well, we've talked about it multiple times, and if we had the discretionary money right now, I would be 100% in favor of making a motion today for a reserve study. I think that it would give so much clarity as to where we sit today, because there's so much opinion and subjectiveness surrounding the association. But if you had a reserve study that was broke down every aspect of this is what it's going to cost to fix your fence, your roads, and maintain all your buildings and fix each individual aspect, the adult center, the teen center, the pro shop, the golf course. If it was all broke down and people could see it, I think it would bring this community together. I think it would glue us together a little bit more and say, okay, we realize how big this problem really is. Let's work together to solve it.
totally agree.
So
And it'll help. It helps us.
Yeah.
You know, or
it helps
whoever's
every
on the
board. It would help every board forever.
It would change the
Yeah.
perspective. I think it would actually open up for people to be confident enough to serve on the board, because really, it's about being on the board is about wanting the best for this place. And if you're worried about not having the skill set, which each of you have now seen, where you've got to figure out like things that you didn't even have an idea about, right?
Yeah.
We've all been through that. Everyone who's sat up there has been through that. And I think that having a very clear path from a professional telling you what it would ease that concern and possibly open up for more people that want to participate in the guidance of our community. So
Well, we've started bouncing around an email about having a meeting for the Vision Traction Organizer, and I was kind of hoping in that meeting that we could start at least conceptually planning for setting a goal to get to the reserve study line, and saying, let's pull the trigger here or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think that's going to it'll be in November sometime.
If there are no other questions about the budget before we vote on it, we need to talk about the CPI. First off, the budget that she has given us includes a 2% CPI, between 2.08 and 2.13 increase in the assessment. So let me go through the assessment real quick. And for anybody that doesn't understand, we use the CPI from June of last year to June of this year. And the rate difference is what gives us the CPI index of what we can raise the assessments. So this last year, it came out to 2.94%. That is the max that we can raise it per our documents. And so Ms. Charlena has asked for approximately a 2% increase, which would put us at, it would increase $1 for each one. So right now we are at $47 for residential, $48 for a membership, and then $5 for the restricted, which puts us at $100. So with the new one, it would be 48 for residential and 49 for member, plus the 5 would take us up to 102. So the assessment would be 102 a month.
That's not the maximum.
No, the maximum is
No.
2.94,
Okay.
which would give us an extra,
We did the 2.94.
it would give us an extra between the two, 79 cents. So
I'm for max. That's my.
I'm for
max.
rounded, I'm for rounded
I'm
numbers.
still against round numbers. I think max is not.
No.
I'm for max. We need the money. Max.
I'm sorry, you open for discussion?
No.
That's just my opinion.
Hey, Charlene, you're asking for $2.
I was asking for $2, but I will say
One for
this.
each.
I will say this, based on our budget,
if everybody agreed, I'm okay to go higher because we could use the income. But I'm fine with 2.
It's
I'm just
70
putting it out there.
79 cents. No one's gonna be eating cat food from the dustbin for 79 cents, for real.
I
And
think,
math is not hard. It's a computer.
Okay, you can say that all you want, but you have not been in the numbers.
I have.
And I'm sorry, I don't
would
mean to
tell you
sound
I have a
adversarial, but
very
I've had to
good
deal
knowledge
with
of
all of
math and
these.
multiplication. It's like third grade, second grade level stuff.
When you are looking for issues, when you're trying to reconcile all the kind of things that you
Yes,
have to
but if
do
you
in
know how to
accounting.
use a software, you just push a button and it spits out a
It does
report
not.
and
It
it
does not.
adds all the decimals together and you don't have to simplify it for because you want to use an ad machine or not you, whoever.
No, it
Well,
has
We need
nothing
as
to do
much
with an
money
adding
as we
machine.
can. We just talk about the
We can
budget.
vote.
Okay, we can vote on it.
We can
well,
vote.
I
We can
think,
vote
I
on
think
it.
we
I need
can
it.
meet in the middle. And if you're asking for $2, and I firmly believe that we will save a considerable amount on our taxes. I also firmly believe that the goals that we've set are, in some aspects, are low. And if God willing, we get rain and our springs stay flowing, I think that we can blow some of these categories out of the water through having an actual advertising budget and a marketing budget and focusing on that, truly focusing on it and trying to figure out how to get more people in here. I think we can exceed this stuff, and that we can get, you know, a 3-figure net operating income in a heartbeat. I have faith we can do that. So I'm comfortable with the $2, and I think that that's some good middle ground.
Charlene, have you taken into consideration if that we have this, let's say we have the springs in March and April to open up on Memorial Day, that means you're gonna have to hire staff,
It's on there.
a minimum wage staff,
It's in the
Memorial
budget.
Day.
Mhm.
It's in the budget already?
It's in the budget.
Okay.
I already have that seasonal
Okay, we got a question.
staff in the budget.
Yes.
Okay, so, hi, everybody. I see item number 2 on your agenda,
Yeah.
and I wasn't gonna ask anything until you got to that. However, I see that you're already talking about increasing the assessments. So why is that item on there if you're already gonna approve?
We segued into it.
We
We segued into
we
it.
have to. We're discussing it now,
Okay,
and what she gave us in the budget was with a 2% increase.
okay, and so item 2,
Is
that apply? I mean,
because
um,
that's what's built into the budget is the increase in assessments.
so it's part
So
of
if
the
we
increase
don't
in
increase the
budget.
assessments, then this budget would have to be.
So
Redone.
once you
redone.
approve the budget as it is, there's no discussion on potentially raising assessment.
No, that's why that's why I didn't vote.
Yeah.
We didn't vote on the budget. So we're discussing the assessments because we need to make that decision before we vote on the budget.
Yes,
Yes.
so
So
I do not support that because the members in good standing are paying their assessment, right?
Mhm.
They're getting revenue. Now you have a big delinquent account. And it's not affecting them at all. They can come in, they can use all the facilities. Lisa, you and I have discussed it before. That's all right. Like John said, get your neighbor to pay it. How can we do that?
I'm joking mostly, but yeah.
We've
find out who
tried.
they are.
Lisa knows, we've tried. And you know, some may be having a difficult situation. You never know what they're going.
But a lot is
They may just refuse, some just refuse to pay it. Because they know nothing's gonna be done. There's those that have lost a spouse, family member, income. You understand that, but do you have a payment plan that you can set up or sit down with them?
we do that. We do that.
Do you call them in to sit down with them?
Yes.
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 We have people on payment plans, they're called in. We have run into issues of people avoiding us for various reasons.
Okay, and that's
Um,
good. I'm glad to
When,
hear
when there
that.
were,
There
it
is a
also
process.
noted there were programs, government programs that Mr. Long found and helped several members get government money to actually pay the members,
Up to
the
$10,000.
association back.
That's
And
amazing.
everybody has worked very
One
hard.
guy got
Yeah.
paid 2 years in advance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Government's not good at math either, so
The
they
problem
just
is-
throw an extra
That's
2
okay.
years on
I'm
there.
glad to hear those positive comments and
And
solutions.
Yes.
part of the budget we're spending on attorneys, and we have a lot of, a large group of people whose feet are in the fire with the attorneys. Now they're dealing with them. that's part of how it's affecting us, all of us, because we have to spend money to an attorney, give attorney money so they can go after these people to pay up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then when they receive a letter from the attorney, then what happens?
A whole lot of waiting.
That's a great question.
Okay, what
Well,
happens?
from my
What do the
understanding
attorneys do?
from my understanding with the attorneys we're using right now, they're not immediately going into
Litigation.
to what?
Litigation.
To litigation. No, they're then sending out after we've sent out a 209, which is 45 days. Then we're giving it to them. There's a week or two lapse. They set up the account. Then they send out another letter for 45 days, and then sometimes they send out a third letter
Okay,
before anything happens.
and then after the third letter.
And then after the third letter, then they're doing they're checking for liens. You know,
Like a title search.
yeah, like a title search. They do a comprehensive title search.
Uh-huh.
And then at that point, they send a demand letter. And then they have so many days to wait for the demand letter to
It's all
expire.
within the law, the rules of the law, the
Yeah.
time,
It's insane.
and unfortunately, some of the work, the attorneys that we've hired, it's unfortunate. They've done sloppy work.
So I'm glad there's several that are working and are trying to make an effort.
Yes,
Make an
yes, we have
effort.
quite a
You've got
few.
payment time, you've got funding, support, government assistance, that's great. What about those that don't pay? Then nothing?
No, then after the demand letter, then they do a judgment letter, I think it is.
Mhm.
And then we have to wait for a court date. And the mercy of the court, sometimes they take a long time to set the date.
Would it be through district court or JP court?
We're getting new attorneys, and God willing, that's gonna go a lot.
Yeah,
faster.
we're hoping that they're going to
Okay,
streamline
like,
it.
for real.
farther.
I would hope it didn't go to that they would, try to make it.
Well, yeah, and sometimes they go all the way to that end, and then they finally say, "Oh, okay, we'll pay."
Let me rope in our free attorney here. Tony, what
Oh, yes, you have an attorney right here.
what would you what would be a
Do any of you remember what I said? the
Yeah,
very first
yes.
time?
He is not practicing here as a lawyer.
You know, what advice I give you as a lawyer is worth what you're paying me.
yeah, nothing. Hey, but seriously, what should just in a general sense, because I don't think we've even actually asked this, but what from start to finish, what should actually ballpark figure be the amount of time from start to finish of going through that process? Like a year?
You know, that's a hard question. And the reason it's a hard question is because a lawyer's stock and trade is his time. And the more time it takes, the more
Money you make.
money, the more the fee is.
Mhm.
I don't know of any lawyers in this type of litigation business that will give you an estimate for what this lawsuit will cost, because it's all contingent on what the other side does. And if you've ever been involved in litigation, and I was a litigator for 35 years, you cannot predict what the other side is going to use as number one, a delay tactic. Number one, a tactic of going on the offense that would then cause you to change your strategy. There's a whole lot of things. So there are rules in place that would limit the ability of one side or the other to play games. And it also depends on the attitude of the court, meaning the judge, and how the judge runs their courtroom to allow for these various tactics that can cause a delay. You didn't ask me this, but I believe that the lawyers that we currently and have been using for a long time are simply not aggressive enough.
Yes, sir.
And
I agree.
Lisa and I and Charlene got involved in a conversation with some paralegals with our firm that in my view, sounded like they were making excuses for having not done something in particular that we asked them to do almost 3 months ago.
Yep.
And so now, to give you an estimate of what a collection lawsuit should cost in
Well, just time, like
it-
time. No, I mean, the cost is the cost, but
okay, some of the rules deal with how much time you have to wait after you do certain
Right.
things.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any of that into consideration. The actual time that it would take to prosecute a collection of a delinquent account, to me, should not exceed 15 to 20 hours. Now, you can't put that
How they
in
spread that out.
perspective because, you know, the law, I mean, obviously, if I'm working on a case, it's not the only case I'm working on. So you spend a little time each time you pull the file to you and you open it up and you do some things to further the litigation process along. But essentially, once you get to that point of filing the lawsuit, you prepare a petition to collect. We shouldn't have to pay more than $1,500 for that. Once it's filed, then you pay a process server to serve the other side with notice of the lawsuit. Then you wait you have until the Monday after the expiration of 20 days from the time the person is served for them to file an answer. And then you have what's called the discovery process, where each side can send out documents to the other that include things like interrogatories, which are questions to the other side that they must answer to provide information. And both sides do that. You can file a document called a request for admissions, where the goal of that type of document is to get each side to admit to certain facts that would limit the time it would take to actually go through a lawsuit where you are questioning witnesses because certain facts can be established. Then you also have another discovery process called, what do you call it? Depositions, where you sit in a room with a court reporter, not a judge. You sit in a room where you can ask questions of the witnesses or the parties to the lawsuit. You ask questions. Then, in the last 25 years, it's become routine for a district judge to require, before you get a shot at having a jury trial or a trial just to the judge, you're going to have to go see a mediator, where you spend money paying a mediator for their time to sit with you, where the mediator conceivably is going to pick apart each of your positions so that they can bring you more to the middle, where ultimately, if you're successful in mediation, both sides leave that room kicking the dirt because they didn't quite get exactly what they wanted.
And the
But
attorneys
keep it-
are smiling.
Yeah, the
'Cause they did.
attorneys are always smiling. And the mediator is smiling because he gets paid for his time. But keep in mind, mediation is not, you do not have to settle your case in mediation, because the rules also say that you are entitled to have your day in court. And so there's a benefit to settling a case where you don't quite get exactly everything you wanted, because you reduce the time that your lawyer is spending on that process. But then, to get to maybe what your original question was, if it was a question, it was, you can anticipate for a normal collection lawsuit to cost you somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000.
well, and I was more asking about like the time, like from start to finish when somebody doesn't pay their bill, and then we have to go through all those steps and say we had an aggressive lawyer, would we expect that to take like a year?
Yeah, a year,
Okay.
Really, a year?
a year.
Not longer
I was
than
gonna
that.
say
Yeah.
6 months.
I think that gives some perspective too. Like,
6 months to a year.
So let's
Yeah.
say you file today and they owe $2,000. By the time you go to court and the assessments are approved.
Yeah.
They're not gonna pay.
Yep.
yeah.
So at that point, can you change the amount? Because you've
Yes.
already set the
Yes.
dollar amount.
Yeah, by the time it finally goes to actual judgment, they get an updated statement that includes all the attorney fees.
And another thing they will ask during the exam, supporting documents. Is there a paper trail?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Notifications? I'm saying even 10 years, 50, however delinquent they are, you know, you have paper trail.
That's all part of the discovery process where you're required to exchange supporting documents with each other.
And when you were talking about settling, have you considered that?
Yes.
A dollar amount.
We-
Maybe
And
they're.
we have.
Yeah.
even start
We have.
fresh.
We have,
Yeah.
and some of them have offered such a ridiculously low amount that it
We
would
want to
even
spend more
cover
money.
the attorney fees, let alone any of their assessments, so.
Well, I think that's pretty unfair to the membership.
What was the last one? The guy-
If someone owes 10 grand and we go like, you know what, we'll just take 2. It's okay. Your neighbor paid 10. You paid 2. Sorry. No, I don't want that. I don't. Like maybe a little bit or something, but it's not.
We
it's not
definitely
I'm
had
not
to look at
exactly
that.
all
sure
the way
what
down.
you're asking, but
I think he wants to
say
make sure
what-
that we're,
What is the least amount we would accept depends entirely on the account. We have to look at each account.
And what's already been spent to an attorney, for example,
Right.
they owe 8,000, we spent 5,000 on an attorney, and they want to give us 3,000. That's not a good settlement.
Yeah, the answer is no, as far as I'm concerned.
Just
Yeah.
trying to help y'all find a solution. And I'm willing to volunteer my time to help y'all in any way.
I like that attitude.
Well,
I like
We got a test for you.
you know what, a lot of times, maybe it's gonna be a post, okay?
We might
I
have,
will-
we might have a job for you.
Okay, what do you pay?
It's free.
not as much as you're making.
I've even mentioned it to Lisa too. But I'm serious, if I wouldn't want to talk to somebody, why? Talk to them. Maybe
Yeah, no,
it's a situation.
they are,
You
they
don't
are.
know. We don't know what anybody's going.
Yep.
And that's been Charlene's approach is everything. Talk to them first, try to get a hold of them. Some of them won't talk to her. Send out the letters, courtesy letter 209. But most of what we have on the books is
Chronic.
chronic. It is not.
And we can't discuss the specific
Yeah.
facts of those cases.
Yeah.
But the ones that I'm familiar with,
Yes.
the people that owe the money are taking a completely unreasonable position.
Yeah.
And so frankly, we have no choice unless we just choose to ignore it. Well, that doesn't help our bottom line at all.
Doesn't help the membership at all. No. Travis?
Lisa, in that process that you described, can you walk through the part where it actually comes before the membership so that people can have an idea of where to listen to understand the work they all are doing? Like so they can't discuss names, but when it comes to the board makes a decision. We walk through that so that people know.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
discuss it in executive session, and then we have to come back out here and say, you can't say names, but you
So
say,
say number one, number two.
number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. We vote to move this one to suit, whatever. I mean,
So that starts the foreclosure process when we do that. But before, it's been probably 3 months at least before that of 209s, them sending letters, them doing this, them doing that, before we even get to the start. And then for some reason, that seems to take way longer than I think it should. And I think it's the attorneys we have. Then we actually get a second one, like they've done the demand letter, they've done everything else. Do we want to foreclose? And I'm like, we already said yes. But, and they give the owners the opportunity to settle, to do whatever. It's not like they're just like, it's too late. At any point in the process, we can make that determination.
One last question. What's the name of your attorney that you use?
It's RMWBH, which is a whole bunch of people's names. That's what they call it.
I need to
It's-
change attorney.
We are.
We are.
We're in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to have to stay where they are because of how far they are.
We've already spent.
So,
Okay, thank
in the
you.
process.
Appreciate your time.
So then we usually come back and do a second vote when it goes, when it's actually, they're doing the summary judgment or however they're gonna do it, so.
If a
Is that what you
contractor-
meant, Travis?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
If a contractor works on your house and you don't pay him, he can file a lien right away. Why can't we do something like that?
That's part of the equation.
Well, and 209 has different rules for what we have to do before we can even file a lien.
There's a whole set of rules that deal with when we can file a lien.
And what all we have to do in that
But a
process.
mechanic down the street or. a
It's-
contractor, he can do it right away.
It's completely, yeah, it's a
It's
mechanical. lien.
apples and oranges,
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
It's due process that is considered before we are allowed to actually file a lien that attaches to the title to that property.
And all these 45 days are part of that due process before a lien can be filed.
It's
Well,
more than that.
It's more than
Yeah,
that.
it's like send a
More-
letter, wait, send
Yeah.
another letter, wait, send another letter.
It's like 3
we'll
letters
file
deep.
something. you know.
But I
3
will say
months
to
later.
you that I believe
We can shorten this process.
that we can, that with a new set of attorneys, that we can accomplish more of that.
Yeah.
And that there has not been the attention necessary given to that aspect of the collection process from what I have observed.
And
So-
even with me calling them
Yeah,
constantly, going,
How many
Where are
of these are deceased people?
Several.
several, yeah.
yeah, but not a majority, not a majority.
There's
So-
maybe 4 that I know of for
Yeah.
sure.
So those you pretty
Yeah.
much kind of forgive. Or what
Yeah.
you do.
We're trying to get the
Because
property.
it's-
No.
It's
We're trying to get the
it's in
property.
the estate.
It's in the estate.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
No, we
probate
don't
for the
forget.
estate.
And we don't forget.
My mom died. I didn't get nothing off.
Because as a
man. I got
member,
charged
you know
late
what,
fees
you
when
know-
My mom died. I'll tell you that.
Would that be-
That's
that
how I
would
met
be
Memo.
fair
I called in.
to
and said
those
late
members
fees, my
in
mom
good
died.
standing that pay all the time. We can't just,
Because as a member, I don't want to,
All of
I
y'all
pay
are
my
current,
bills.
so-
Do what?
All of y'all are current, right?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, they are.
now we are.
You what?
There was a an administrative error. So
No, we don't pay assessment. They didn't tell you all that? That's the benefit of being on the
So,
board.
so when I
Why
saw
else
the
would I be up
notice,
here spending
when
time?
I saw the notice that our assessments are due will be due
By the 5th.
by the 5th, I called Gracie. And I said, when does my ACH get taken? She said, on the 5th.
Yeah.
So
You're
I'm
safe. You're
You're,
safe.
you're safe.
When
For
does
now.
that start?
January 1st.
January 1st.
yeah,
And I will send out a notice every single week.
to give everybody a chance,
And we
because
also
right
have-
now
yeah.
we have people paying on the 5th, the 10th, the 15th, the 20th. Some just wander in and write a check, and you cannot keep track of your
Delinquent.
delinquencies when we're not even putting late fees on until the next month because of where everybody falls. So it's crazy. So
Yes,
we are
but-
trying to work with the membership as much as possible, but we're also trying to do everything possible to collect everything we can get. So
Yes.
yes, sir.
This problem was dealing with a resident with a home here, and they refused to pay something. We just shut their sewage off.
That's mud.
No, we can't.
No.
That's mud.
We can't.
Yeah, 209 kind of protects them. And I think
Yeah.
Martha, to kind of, unfortunately, there's some movies 20 years ago, and there was a comment made about, I always remembered it. It was a comment made about how interstates are like, like blood cells going through your body, right? There's all these cars going back and forth. Unfortunately, our society is the exact same way. If somebody gets in a wreck on Highway 90, you pay for it. We all pay for it. If somebody's on their phone and they have an accident, day, night, whatever, we all pay for it. And unfortunately, through the protections of Property Code 209, we're all going to pay for this because we are. I mean, everybody has all for the most part always, and unfortunately, you pay a higher insurance premium because we're all paying for it, and then it's so on and so forth. It just compounds itself, and you know, we're trying to do everything we can do to collect as much money as we can, but unfortunately, you know,
But also too, at the end of the day, also prices go up, cost of goods go up all the time. And inflation, ever since COVID, we have all paid the price of exorbitant prices that have rose, and they're never gonna come down because we're paying for it, so they will never lower those. And I mean, I know raising anything makes people cringe because it's your money. I get it, but then at the end of the day, right now, if you look at the cost of what everything is and what we have to pay for, the $2 is gonna be a minimal of help to what we really have to do.
So what's the dollar amount attached to 2.9?
What?
If we go to the math, the 2.9, 4%,
Yeah.
The two,
It's an additional 79 cents.
so it would be a total of $1.79.
I mean, we just had a
$2.79.
discussion about, we may need to let some of our buildings go. Does that mean like?
That,
That's an
decay?
exaggeration.
I
that's,
mean, like,
exaggeration.
that's something that we just said. We may
Yeah,
have to
but it
let our
wasn't.
buildings go. Do we want to get that little bit more money into our coffers? Do you guys want to see more things fixed? I think everybody does. You know, that's, I just,
I think-
it's only 79 cents.
On the restricted.
It's $3.75, and then the historical is $1.25. That's
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah, the restricted fund assessment, which is what you just got together. What was the increase on that?
none.
None.
Okay, so we just talked about our buildings that are decaying and we're having problems. So we're not going to increase the assessment that protects and preserves those buildings.
79 cents for history.
No, that wasn't in our discussion, no.
well,
Well, I mean.
it's not in our discussion.
Not in our
It's not
discussion,
in the
but
current.
it's not in the current.
It's
Yeah.
not in the current.
So we would just add 79 cents to restricted for 579. And then we could fix major things, buildings
Yeah.
for the future.
Yes.
It's a long-term residual thing. Every little thing we don't add up. Next year we don't add. All those years they didn't add it, add to it. If they had of, maybe we'd have a lot better things than we have right now. But a lot of people argue, you can't feast that. We don't want to raise that. We're not. People can't afford that.
Jason.
Well, things are going down.
Jason, we need to be reasonable, all right? There's a lot of things we can do to even eliminate stuff. Right?
$2.79 or $2
We can knock
is
stuff off the
reasonable.
budget right
It's
now
not $9.79
and have less
or
stuff for the
$2.
membership. You know, and then where we are with that as well. So
Well,
you know,
a lot of
it has
years
to
they
have
didn't
to be
raise it.
reasonable.
But you said before here they didn't
okay.
even raise it at all for what, a decade or something. I mean,
like 8 years.
we're
or something.
behind.
What's the
We're behind.
consensus?
I'm not worried about the
What's
past.
the consensus of the members?
No.
How many of y'all want to do max? Raise your hand.
Do it.
Well, it's a democracy. We have this many people. How many people don't want to do it and only want to do the 2%?
Well, we're not a democracy,
No,
but.
that's why we were elected.
Oh, I'm
That's why
sorry
we're
about
elected.
that.
This is a constitutional
Yeah, you can
republic,
take your.
just like this country.
I mean, the residual effect of not taking the full thing. I did a small calculation and less than the percentage you're talking about now. $6,000 is going to be the change just
Yeah.
next year. The year after, I mean, it's the reverse of of your 401k. It's the exact opposite of your 401k.
In 10 years, that's 60. Not to count all the interest we would have got off the money or whatever we did with it, you know.
And when you go back and you try and make it up, you're from behind. Charlene, I sent you those charts that shows what happened. And at one point, I mean, that iceberg thing that, everyone looks at like, oh, success is an iceberg and underneath the ground is the actual iceberg itself. If you look at the chart of what happened was in 2013 and 2014, this place was operating with $23,000 a month less than it was in 2010. Day to day. And the only time we got back there was last year. We're just now getting back to what we were collecting in 2010. That tells you this whole conversation, we don't have enough money. We're not collecting enough money. And every time you knock off a little 25 cents here, 79 cents there, and you don't do that, you're further stopping passing and getting back to where we need to be to run this place. It's a residual effect.
Thank you.
Well, I'll, just put out whether it's popular or not. We will, unless we can find a money fairy to develop more of the property, we cannot raise these assessments high enough to do what we want to do. As negative as that
Well, let's
sounds.
just not do anything. I mean,
Well, then
Can I
you
finish what I was gonna say?
That's
can- that's
kind
your
of a
vote.
That's kind of a bad attitude,
You
Jason.
can vote
no, it's
negative.
all right. It's a
And I don't
Bad
mean that
situation, in
as
my
a
opinion.
as a negative. We're in a bad situation, but now I've lost my train of thought. Thank you. Yes.
If you could raise the assessment as much as you wanted, how much would you charge us a month
$50.
to be solvent?
$50.
More.
$6?
$50 a month.
More.
Then right now, $50 a month would solve roughly 80,
50.
$50.
So you get $150.
It would solve roughly 70 to 80% of our problems within 6 to 8 years.
Hey,
I've already run all
It'd
the
be like
numbers.
Alpine with all the buildings painted. Maybe we have a
Yeah.
restaurant. Who knows?
Let's not go crazy.
Well,
It'd
$50
be
bucks.
about $1 million a year.
If
And
the assessments were raised $50 a month, just on that 50, it would be 81,000 extra dollars a month
no,
This place is certainly worth
for
Yeah, I would.
1,632
I
members
Oh, a
don't
month,
disagree
yeah.
with you.
a month.
yeah,
I mean,
right,
if it was
right. So it's
fixed,
about
okay, it was solely
$900,000.
worth it. Today, maybe no, but
But if you did that, just in theory,
yeah.
Well,
then you'd have this
I
pool
mean,
of
that's
money
a
that you
great-
could then vote to say, hey, we're going to fix roads this year.
Yeah.
We're going to do Dickman
That's
this
a
year. We're gonna do
great
the adult center.
theory,
And after
Yes.
6 or 8 years,
but our documents
Things
don't
are
allow
Yeah,
that.
no one's
So-
trying to go 50 really.
Well, we
but,
can't.
No,
go
I'm just
50.
saying.
but 279, we sure can do 279. We can do 79 cents for history.
hey, I don't want $50, by the way.
Social
I think that would raise my assessments by about $600 a
Well,
month.
so you're
I'd
gonna
like
break
to know
even
why.
if we
And inflation's
charge 2%.
2.97. So
Charlene, if people want to donate money, why don't we get a GoFundMe account?
this is a business,
anybody
not a
can-
GoFundMe cancer for children. Jerry Lewis telethon or
That way,
something.
anybody
No.
who wants to give money to the court, they can.
Well, we can go ask Brown and Root for some money or something in the future when we
Well,
get the
then
reverse
someone needs to ask
reserve
them.
study. But for now, we got to get 79 cents. In my
Well,
opinion.
We were hoping to get that reserve study
90
paid
I
for.
can say it 6 ways from Sunday, but if you don't work in accounting, if you don't work in that kind of stuff, the pennies on.
Do you know how
on it-
much
okay,
times
can
I've
I
been
finish
doing
what I'm
math
saying?
and stuff?
Just let her finish what she's saying.
But we're talking about rounding decimals again.
Let
That's
her-
a waste of time.
Jason,
Go
let her
ahead.
finish.
That's what we've done for the last 2. It's going to cost you more in accounting. I don't know. It's going to cost you
That is
79 cents.
hilarious.
Okay.
Banks,
Can I finish?
bank tellers have to do decimals. Anyone does.
Decimals?
Yeah,
What's
decimals.
a decimal?
Whatever it is, I want
I
one.
don't know, but I can add 15 cents to 27 cents
Are you
in my
done?
head.
All right, you're being rude.
Well, all right. This is a long meeting. Let's just crank it out.
I'm so sorry.
What did you want to say?
I want to say, if people knew that $50 a month would cure all our ills, they might want to increase their assessment $10 or something. But nobody knows how broke we are.
Well, I think that's where the reserve study would be very
Make a
helpful.
big.
Yes,
I think
I
it
do.
would
I
it would
believe
really
so.
start to paint the picture so that everybody would have a grasp on where we're at.
And there's no way it's going to paint the picture that we're better off than we thought we were.
You know, and I'm
That's
not
no
saying.
way.
I'm
It's going to be like doomsday.
Okay.
You know,
All right, okay.
for real.
I'm gonna say this. This gentleman right here, he's living on Social Security. He just said he's gonna get a 2% raise.
Okay.
If we raise our assessments 2%, that almost washes out what he's gonna have to pay.
Yeah, but
So
he's not
no,
going to be eating cat
no.
food. Could you afford an extra 279
Well,
cents,
that's
sir?
$24 a year.
Now, between my
Right.
wife and I, we get 5
That-
retirement checks every month.
See, you're acting like this guy's broke.
I think Brown and Root sitting in the second row.
I'd be happy with anything you come up with.
Okay. See, I'm just looking out for the member.
All right, I
You
would,
mentioned it.
whether I would like to have my say, whether,
Okay.
people think it's valid or silly or whatever else. I think $2 is sufficient. I think when you get into the pennies, having had to reconcile these accounts myself, having to deal with the attorneys and all of those. Anytime there's an issue, when you're dealing in pennies, I don't care what kind of program you have, if you're going to reconcile, it is much harder than being able to pick out, oh, we're missing 20 or we're missing $1 or we're missing whatever the amount is. It takes a lot. And when you look at our the what do you call it, real estate, they don't do pennies when they put the assessments on. When you go to purchase a house and you look on the rolls, they won't tell you that your assessment is $42.16. They want a round number. They put a round number in there. I know that's a minor thing. I just think it's
Oh, we're
ridiculous.
gonna have this argument every year until one of us isn't on the board.
Okay.
50 cents?
Hmm.
Would you meet in the middle?
That's not true. Because
Wait,
they can still be sitting out.
I can hear you.
50 cents.
250?
50 cents instead of 79 cents, make it 50 cents.
So like increase the restricted to 550.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Limits the.
That's
I mean,
easier.
it's a
Okay.
round number, 550. I think we could do that.
I agree. I will not argue.
And then I wouldn't have to change this. I just changed the restricted.
That's true. You're not changing much. All right. Is there any more discussion on the CPI, or have we beat the horse to death?
So can you actually increase the restricted assessment and not the residential? Is that,
The restricted assessment is attached to the membership. So, and we can't raise it more. It can't exceed 12% of the annual. So we have to be careful how much we raise. As long as we don't raise it more than what we're raising the others, then we're fine.
588 is where you get.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where'd you learn to do those decimals, boy?
No,
His phone.
It's mess bowls.
Yeah, get your messable straight, bro.
Do you lose any members for non-payment?
I'm sorry?
Every time the assessments are raised, do you lose any members?
No.
We lose, a lot of times we'll lose a charter membership. Or sometimes a non-performing. They'll either do a give back or that type of thing. Because there's a lot of them held in a trust or something that they've been paying. And then when it goes up, sometimes that sends a flag and they're like, what is this? Why is it going up? What am I paying for? And then they'll call us and a lot of times then do a give back.
But then that's
So
when
then we
have
lose
to-
that assessment.
yeah.
Yes.
That's when we have to do our marketing then and really pay attention to that. So if we're losing, we have to work harder to gain new people. And that's all part of it. Every day, we have to make sure that
Except
we're
with-
marketing and trying to get new membership here.
Except for non-performing and
Right. We
charters.
can't- Not, no, yeah, not non, but we can
Can't get
add
those back.
additional members.
The FRM
I'm
will
gonna
go by
put your
$2.
marketing to the test.
It's not my marketing.
The FRM
Yeah,
will
we'll
go
go
by
our
a dollar.
$1. Okay.
Yeah,
$6.
yeah,
It'll
right.
be-
Yeah, Brittany's
Where's
marketing
that?
and your marketing.
It'll be 49.
Okay.
So any other discussion? Any other input? Yes, Russell?
Yes, I would like to say, I'm on in agreement that we need to increase our funds, increase the assessments. One thing I would like to see is a very aggressive action from both the board and the management to try to address some of our amenities that are way behind the scenes. Like we're bleeding, it seems to me like we've got several places that we're bleeding money out of the way, and we keep trying to raise the assessment to stop the holes there. For example, we're gonna say here that the airport, I think the income on it is $600 a year. You know, golly, $500,000 worth of airplanes out there and they're paying $600 a year. It seems a little light. We're going to raise the assessment for an art studio, $600 a year, and the same thing. We got a lot of places where it's leaving $2,000 a year, $4,000 a year, $5,000, and I have stepping start even talk about this.
Guess what, Russell? I am already on that.
You know, that'll make me feel better about it. I don't
Yes.
mind paying more, but I feel like people
So there's gonna be a lot of contracts raised.
Yeah, the
We
stables.
didn't know any,
the-
we didn't know about a lot of that, and she's already brought a lot of it to our attention. So, yeah, it's on the radar.
And the airplane, at least as much as we are paying. Because there hadn't been a sufficient budget or a sufficient profit and loss statement. Profit and loss statement showed up as needed. With my 2 cents.
Thank you, Russell.
That's more than 2 cents, Russell.
That's a $500,000 Tony, were you saying something? I'm sorry. No, before that.
Uh, I'm not exactly sure how to apply it, but I like the notion of what sounds like a compromise between $2 and $2.79.
You mean 250?
But again, how is that 250 applied?
I believe Travis.
Well, it's
no.
$1 for residential, $1 for the membership, and then 50 cents to the
Oh,
restricted.
okay.
So you're,
I move that we raise the assessments by that formula that you've just described for a total of $2.50.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have any more discussion?
Hell no.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right, so that takes us back to the budget, which was given
Did
to
you
us.
Notice he didn't vote.
Did you not
Said
vote?
no.
Oh, you said no.
Yeah,
Okay,
so make sure
I
you.
knew he was gonna say no.
sorry. It was so quiet. So back to the budget. This budget is based on a 2%, or well, 2.08, $1 per. So nothing needs to be changed there.
what's reserve money anyway, which
Right.
doesn't go in the operating budget anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we don't need to make any changes. So is there any more discussion on that, or can we vote on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Now,
That's
I
unanimous.
do wanna reiterate, I will break up the departments for next year. So that's my promise to you. I will work with Travis, because Travis has been very helpful. Looking at the budget monthly. And we will make that known to our members on a monthly basis. Okay? Is there any other requests that you all have?
Good.
Motion, we're good.
Before I adjourn, I just want to thank you all for coming out and for being concerned and for asking questions, because the more eyes, the better. When we discussed it at the other one, everybody misses something. And so we've had a lot of eyes on all of it. And I would rather see people here chewing my butt for whatever reason than nobody paying any attention. So I appreciate all of y'all's input and
Yeah,
concern.
we got a lot of like feedback, emails and calls and such, and you guys came here and spent your time and we appreciate that.
My only warning is be careful with the misinformation that is gonna get out.
Fake news.
At least you all know what's happening.
That's a common occurrence.
That's life. All right. It is $4. Yeah.
Here it comes.
That's gonna be out.
Here it comes.
Someone start that one.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
We'll have a masseuse at Dickman. Y'all give up $50 extra. Come on, it'll be great.
We're
$150 by the time we get to the car.
Yeah.
adjourned at 4:48.